Hey Unraiders, and welcome to another video. So community applications is pretty much where all of us get our containers and plugins from. There's getting around 4,000 apps there now as well. And here's the thing, nearly every single one of those has been put there by somebody in our community. Not by Lime Tech, by people who built something and thought they just want to share it with other people who might find it useful too. And now getting your own app there has got a whole lot easier. Now, as some of you might know, I've had apps and community applications for years now, and the way you used to do it, well, it was a bit of a pain really. You'd write a template, stick it in a GitHub repo, and then you'd message someone on the forums and just wait. There was no real feedback, and if you got something wrong in your XML, half the time you'd never find out. Your app just wouldn't turn up, and you maybe sat there wondering why. So we've built a proper web portal for this now. You just paste in your GitHub repo, it reads it, checks your work, and if something's not right, it tells you there and then, rather than just leaving you guessing. And for Docker containers, it can actually automatically approve you. There's no waiting on anyone. But plugins, they do have to be actually manually approved. Right, so who's this video for? Well, two groups really. Now, if you're an OG Unraider like me, and yep, I've got the t-shirt here to prove it, there's a fair chance you've already got a repository sat there in community applications. So we're going to start there, and I'm going to show you how you can actually claim that and bring it into the new system. Then that way it's going to link up to your Unraid account so you can see all of your apps and what state they're in one place. Now, if you're new at all of this and you've built something you'd like to share with everyone else, well, stick with me for the second half because we're going to set one up completely from scratch. Now, one thing I think I should say before we start, this isn't a video about how to actually build a container or to write a plugin. I'm going to take it that you've already made the thing and it works, and what we're covering is the bit that comes after. You've got your container or your plugin, it's sat there ready, and now you want to put it in community applications so you can share it with other people and they can find it and install it. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so first let's claim an existing repo, and we want to head over to ca.unraid.net. Then once here in the bottom left, we're going to need to sign in to our Unraid account. Now if you don't have one, you can actually set one up, but here I'm just signing in with my existing account that I already have. You can see here I'm signed in Space Invader 1 at the bottom. So after we've signed in, we just go up to the top left and click on the button Submit here, which brings us onto this page which says share your app with Unraid users. Now you'll see this button in the middle, Start Submission. That's not what we want to press if we're actually going to claim an existing repo. If you've already got a repo on CA, go up to the top here and click My Submissions. Now obviously this is all blank at the moment because nothing is actually linked with my Unraid account. But this is where it will become populated when you either add an existing repository or if you're a new person and you're just submitting a new repository. So as I've already got a repo, make sure not to go up here and click Submit Repository. That's incorrect. We need to click here Claim Repository to get our existing one into the Unraid account. So here in this box here, we need to put the URL of our GitHub account. Now it must be the root URL, and what I mean by that, you'll notice here that I've got a folder Space Invader 1, and inside that, that's where all my XML files are. So don't go into any folders, just make sure you copy the URL from actually the root of the actual repo, then go back to the My Submissions page and paste the URL in. Now you might be thinking, well, if you can just paste in a URL, what's there to stop someone just really stealing someone else's repo and putting it in their Unraid account? Well, if you've ever set up a reverse proxy and used DNS verification for the SSL certificate, well, you already know the principle of how you actually verify that you own something. With a domain name, you basically just make a TXT record in the DNS, and, well, you're the only person that can do that because you're the only person with right permissions to the actual DNS. Well, you must actually own that domain. Well, it's the exact same principle here, and that's why we press this button, the Generate Claim File button here. So what it's done is it's given us a path to actually put this file. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, go back to my GitHub repo, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the file from here, but of course you could create it from CLI or from GitHub Desktop. But I'm just going to click Create New File here, and at the top here I'm going to paste the location and the name of the file. Then after that, I'm going to copy the contents of that generated file here. So let's go back and get that. And to do that, I just click this little button here and it says copied. I've got it on the clipboard. Now I'm just going to go back to GitHub and paste it in here. So with that done, let's create the file by clicking commit changes. And so this has created the file inside a folder called .unraid, which is in the root of our repo. Okay, so let's switch back to the other page, and now we're going to click this button here, verify claim. And this will check then on that GitHub repo that it can see that file and the contents of it. And there we are. It's been successfully claimed, and now all of my applications have been added to my submission history. So let's close the window. We can see my repository address here and the status that it's claimed. And if I click onto the repo here, it takes us inside of it. And here it says there's 23 apps. And all of those 23 are visible in CA. You can see none are hidden from CA. Now, if you had some problems, you might see that you'll have some that are hidden from CA, but you'd then be able to actually make a correction and fix those from the information you'll get here. And to just verify what your apps are, you can just scroll up and down through them here, and it will show all of the ones you have submitted that are on CA. So that's how you claim an existing repo. So next we're going to look at actually setting up a new repo and submitting it to CA, one that's not already in CA. And you'll notice when we do that, there are more files and things we actually have to upload into our repo. So even if you've actually set up an existing repo and added it here, I would suggest that you actually go ahead and put the extra files up as well, what you see in the next part when we set this up from scratch. Okay, so now we're going to look at if you have things you want to submit into community applications. You've never done it before. This part of the video is going to guide you how to. So you're going to need a dedicated GitHub repo for your Unraid XML files, both for Docker templates and for plugins. So if you've got a GitHub account, then sign in. And if you haven't, then sign up like I'm doing here. So once you're logged into your GitHub account, click the plus at the top and then click onto new repository. Now I'm going to name this Unraid-community-apps, but you can call it whatever you want. And with that done, I'm going to click the green create button and make the repository. Now whilst I'm here, I'm just going to make a quick readme. Now I'm only going to title it, you should fill it out with whatever you want. And with that done, I'm going to head over to ca.unraid.net. Here we need to sign into our account. So if you don't have one, you can create one, or you can use something like Google and use the login for that, and it will create the account for you at the same time. So I'm going to log into mine here. So now in the bottom left, instead of saying sign in, we can see that I'm logged in as me here. And with that done, let's go to the top left of the page and click on the button submit here. And then in the middle of the page here, we click on Start Submission. Okay, the first thing we'll see here is some information on what we need to do before we begin. So our repository must have a valid plugin or Docker template XML file, and we can look at the starter repository here for best practices. We're going to need an approved OSI open source license. And again, it's confirming that we need to have valid Docker or plugin XML templates. And also we need another file, a ca_profile.xml. And what we'll do is we'll deal with each one of these one at a time. But for now, let's click on to continue. And so we're already signed in here, so we can click continue again. So here we need to add the repository URL. So if we go back to the repository we created, and at the top we just copy the URL. Now make sure you're in the root of the actual repo. Don't go into any folders if you've created any here. So let's paste in the URL here and then click on to validate. Okay, so we can see it's failed the check. It needs to have a repository license. So let's go across to GitHub now and make that. And that's super easy to do. We just click add file here and then create new file. And then all we need to do here is type the word license uppercase. Then we get the option here to choose a license type. And I'm going to choose MIT license here, and then just click on to review and submit. Here we can see the license, so let's commit changes and click again on the modal. And so there we can see the license file in the root of our repo. So let's go back now and retry the validation. Okay, so that part looks good. The repository is public, it's active, and we've got our license. So now let's click scan repository. Okay, and you can see at the bottom here, I've got this banner saying I already have a repository in community applications. And that's why I showed you the claiming part first. But if you're submitting a new repo, then you won't see this. It won't be there for you. And if you do see it, well, it's a good idea not to really have two repos under the same account. You can do, but it's much cleaner just to put everything into one. I'm only doing this for the sake of this video. Now there's 3 things we need to sort out. There's no valid apps while we haven't put anything in the repo, and also we need to put a repository overview. So let's do that first, and to do that we need to create an XML file called ca_profile.xml. And there's 2 places we can see an example of this. Firstly, on the links on the left hand side, I'm going to open this in a new tab, repository information.xml. And here we can see a basic example of this file. We can copy it from here and amend it ourselves. Or the other place to see it is if we go across to the Unraid GitHub here, we can see it in the Unraid Community App Starter repo. So grab it from either place and edit it to be correct for you. Then go over to your GitHub repo and click Add File and then Create New File. Paste in your XML here and just name the file at the top here, ca_profile.xml. Now obviously you could create this through GitHub Desktop. You don't have to do all of this through the web UI of GitHub. It's just easier for showing the video doing it this way. Okay, so we've got our profile file here. So now let's go back across and let's press rescan and now see what comes up next. So the repository overview is fixed, and now to be honest that's pretty much everything fixed for the actual skeleton of the repo. The only thing we don't have is we don't have any templates in there, so that means we don't have any valid apps. Those last 2 warnings are basically telling you about the same thing. So I'm going to put in a Docker container template now. So obviously you're going to have a valid container to be able to add, and that's beyond the scope of this video. But for the XML, you can just have a look at the notes on ca.unraid.net and it will tell you the structure it should be. You'll notice here I'm creating this into a folder called templates, which I'm going to use for Docker templates. I'm going to make a different one for plugins, which is the recommended way forward. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to make a very simple template here for a very simple container, a who am I container. Doesn't really do anything, to be honest, but it will mean I have a valid app inside of the repository. Okay, so things are taking shape now. I've got my templates directory here. I've got the Docker template in there. And we've got our license file and the profile file there from earlier. So now let's go back and rescan again. This may take a few moments, but yep, here we are. Full clean bill of health. And you'll notice here that the XML template for my who am I container is checked it can see it's pullable, and so it's got a clean bill of health, and we can go forward and click submit. Okay, so now all I need to do is confirm the submission and click submit for review. And that'll take a few moments. And then we can see the submission's been received, and we can see this container was auto-approved, and it should appear in community applications after the next app feed update. And this one got auto-approved because it was a Docker container app, and everything checked out fine. But some things might need manual approval, such as plugins. So at the top there we can see the repo I just added, but at the moment you can see it says current app 0. Now the reason being is, if you remember earlier it said that it will be after community applications has checked the app feed. If we go across to our Unraid server and go onto the apps tab, and we can get an idea about that if we go down here and click on statistics, we can see the last time the app feed was pulled. Here it says 7th of August at 1:26 PM. It will often happen every few hours, so it gives you an idea of when it might show up here. So after a little bit of time, we can see now the current apps in CA is 1 and 1 visible. And we can see here it's listed. Now the app feeds pick this one up. Now if anything was wrong with my template, etc., I'd get information about why it's not being picked up here, and then I'd be able to act on the information on how to fix it. Now submitting plugins is exactly the same. You can see here I've made a folder called plugins, and inside here I've just put a test plugin file. Now this one's never going to get picked up because it's just for a demo for this video, but the plugins, they're manually reviewed just to check they're okay. So you may find if you submit a plugin, it's going to take a longer time than if you submitted a Docker template, because these can be auto-approved. Okay, so you can see here the structure of your repo and the files that go in there along with it. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video. We've claimed a repo that was already on CA and linked it up to our Unraid account. And we've gone the other way too, built one from scratch. Put in a container and plugin there from the empty repo all the way through to the live listing. And there's one takeaway from this is it just shows how little there is standing in your way now. All you have to do, paste in the URL, it tells you what needs fixing, you fix it, submit, and that's just it. So if you've built something for your own server and you've always wished you could share it, well, I think now's the time to do it. But if you do get stuck on any of it, there's a support board and there's community applications thread on the forums. Both are going to be linked down in the description below. Now here's what I'd like to know. Have any of you guys out there got a container or plugin sitting on your GitHub that you've never got around to submitting? Let me know what it is in the comments below. I'd love to know. And also, does this inspire you to actually maybe learn to make your own container or plugin and share it with the community? Anyway, as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And to all of you out there, thanks very much for watching. You could have spent your time doing anything else, but you are here watching this video. But until the next time, thank you very much and have a great day.